to episode 86 of the LOTD Pod, the Left of the Dial podcast. I'm Flick, Richard off this week, but I'm not here alone. I'm back here with an old companion, Rudy rejoining the podcast.
There's no chance I was missing the Prince birthday episode, Flick. There was no chance.
Yeah, so this is like the first time, surprisingly. I mean, you can look back at some of our early podcasts and say that there were a few Prince shows. This is really the first one that's officially devoted to Prince.
Yeah.
So it took.
I plead guilty to that, by the way. I plead guilty to Princizing many episodes. I have no regrets, though. I'm guilty and unrepentant.
I didn't say you should regret it, but yeah, it's your go-to. It's one of your go-tos anyway.
He was.
And yeah, so we're doing this because it would be Prince's birthday coming up on June 7th, and he would be 62 had he lived. Of course, he's been gone for 5 years now. And yeah, so it's a celebration nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm still really bummed about Prince being gone. I think about him all the time. I think I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to say it again. Is like, there's a lot of people who like some Prince songs. There's a lot of people who like Prince's music, generally speaking. He's a difficult personality, but I just liked Prince. As he's kind of a weirdo, I guess, but I thought he was harmless. You know what I mean? Like, I really thought he was harmless, and I thought he was a good dude. I miss him.
He made some great music, for sure. And if you were listening last week, you know that we're keeping it Minnesota this week because we had another big birthday a week ago, and that was the 80th birthday of one Robert Zimmerman from Hibbing, Minnesota. Another of your big like your Mount Rushmore, I would say, musicians, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I do like, what is it with Minnesota? And I don't have anything against Minnesota. I've spent my share of time there. Like, I've never detected anything really magical about it, and yet it's somehow fielded Prince, Bob Dylan, Husker Du, the Replacements, and plenty others too.
The Jayhawks.
The Jayhawks.
We could go. I could run the list right down, to the Trashmen. Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a lot I love about Minnesota, and one of my favorite places too. Something about the lakes, or I don't know. Did you get a chance to check out our Dylan?
I did, and again, these are all matters of taste. Clearly these lists, your playlists, were made with love, so that's really was my only criteria. Is Dylan in the 80s is a low point. I think the 90s were worse, but I'd say up. There are some moments in the 80s that I think, even if the albums that came out weren't great, if you go back and listen to the sessions and the songs that were available, he did have a run there. Yeah. He did have a run of a few records. Oh Mercy is great.
Yeah, and to kind of, for anybody that wasn't listening or hasn't listened yet, because Dylan's 80 was 80 last week. We took a look back at his 1980s output, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. There is a lot, like when you go through all the albums, they're not as thoroughly good as the 2 decades before.
Nothing is, though. Nothing is.
Right. Yeah. But when you can go through and then find the 3 or 4 possibly songs that you like from each album, you can definitely come up with some good ones.
Yeah, I thought, I think that Dylan's fascination with Daniel Lanois production is a little overdone. I think from Oh Mercy on, even though I think Bob Dylan started producing his own albums starting with Love and Theft, I think. But Time Out of Mind, I think, was Daniel Lanois as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like, there's sort of a Bob has not gotten over the Daniel Lanois book of studio tricks, and it's a little smooth bore for me at this point.
Yeah.
But I would still say, starting with "Oh Mercy," Bob did have a
Well,
creative renaissance, a strong
well,
one.
Oh Mercy was the first collaboration with Daniel Lanois, and I think leading up to that, he did have a self-produced album or two before that.
Yeah,
So I think in between Mark Knopfler produced or co-produced, like that was co-production. So so you could also consider that self-producing. Um, but yeah, he did have one, I think, at least one fully self-produced album in between those Knopfler albums.
What you guys did not include any Traveling Wilburys from Traveling Wilburys 1, and I that's a judgment call. I do think Congratulations is underrated, and it's not underrated in its current in the form that you find it on the album from Traveling Wilburys, but there was a great tribute album called, I think it's called Congratulations, of like alternative artists covering 80s Dylan. And I like everything Elvis Perkins does, good, bad, or otherwise. His cover of Congratulations opened that song up for me. So if you can dig up Elvis Perkins' cover of Traveling Wilburys Congratulations, I think you can hear the Dylan song in there better than you can on the original. And I don't think Tweeter and the Monkey Man is all that bad. There's certainly much worse put out by him in the 80s than Tweeter and the Monkey Man from a songwriting point of view. And in fact, I'd say Tweeter and the Monkey Man would probably fit on an album like Love and Theft pretty cleanly. So a little, I don't know. That's a judgment call as to include those two. But the big one that's missing for me, and this is in no way I'm not calling out Richard even a little bit. I'm a fan of Richard as an artist, and I'm a fan of his opinion. But Lenny Bruce from Shot of Love, I understand why it is polarizing, but it does have the one of his cringiest, worst lyrics of all time. I'm not even going to repeat it here, but it is one of those Dylan core songs that is about finding the good in somebody who's sort of gotten a raw deal, right? Like making a plea for what was good about Lenny Bruce, or questioning, like, was he really so bad? Like, what did he do that was proportionate to the treatment he got? And to me, that sort of underdog, the virtue of the underdog, which is such a huge part of almost everything Dylan does, I think it's just as well used on Lenny Bruce as on anything else. And it's probably the first of those sorts of sort of anti-hero hero songs that he'd done in a while. And I mean, it's better than some of them. Not all of his social justice records are fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it would have been. Unfortunately, you weren't available, last week to join in on that. But that would have been good because like Lenny Bruce is a song Richard doesn't like. Obviously, a song that like for me, I can give or take it. So it would have been kind of nice to have the three different sides of it: the pro side, the con side, and then
indifferent.
my like kind of somewhat indifferent. I did get to see him do it live, but that wasn't like that didn't necessarily sell me on it either. But it is what it is. It's a song I don't feel that passionate about one way or the other.
Eventually, the Infidel sessions are going to come out, and then people can, if you put together like a best of the sessions version of Infidels, I think you're looking at an 80s. I think you're looking at an album that's better than Oh Mercy, not by much, but it is. And that would have given him Oh Mercy and Infidels as like quality albums. I think Shot of Love is half excellent. Every Grain of Sand is one of his all-time great songs.
I had a lot to say about Every Grain of Sand. I love that song.
Yeah, it's great. And there's some great covers of it too.
Emmylou Harris covered it.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she's in my, if I had a personal Hall of Fame, there would be a significant section for Emmylou Harris. She could have made my Hall of Fame just on the quality of her cover selection. She also could have made it on the quality of her cover performances, and then then you've got the rest of her career. Like just her duets would get her in.
Well, yeah, and like to start it off with her work with Graham Parsons. I mean, and to not peak there too is also a good thing because that's a strong start, and she sustained it. But yeah, I mean, she's worked with like a Mount Rushmore and then some. Graham Parsons, going on to Dylan and Neil Young and uh, everybody pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan and Prince, I'm not trying to make this too on the nose, but Dylan and Prince had a little bit of a reversal of fortune, right? Dylan was still trying to make an album a year or an album every other year into the 80s with live albums in between. And he didn't have the material by then. You know what I mean? Like he'd done 2 decades of literally like near perfection with some duds thrown in here and there naturally, but like the heights that he hit in the 60s and 70s really aren't touched other than by the most elite of the elite.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan really can't be faulted for like running out of ideas 20 years into his career. And he kept trying to make albums anyway. That was the record company's fault, not his.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I would say he ran out of ideas. He just didn't have as many as he had before. But I mean, that was to me what was good about getting to do the show that we did last week, was just kind of re-examining that. I talked about when I was a kid and I had the Rolling Stone album guide, and looking at the review, like the stars on the reviews throughout his discography, you see this big drop off when it gets to like the late 70s, where it's down to 2 stars or 1 star per album, and you're thinking he just fell off a cliff. But it's not really the case, and that's why it was good to get to go through that.
Yeah, that's tough. Because I do think the Slow Train Comin' is a good record. It's a great record.
Street Legal's good too, and Street Legal is like where the big drop off is as far as reviews go, as far as critical reception goes.
Yeah, Street Legal. I think Street Legal is underrated. That's not the same to say that it's great. But I do think.
I said good. I didn't. I don't know that I'm saying great either. But it's certainly good, and got reviews like it was bad. So.
I don't know. If I was Bob Dylan, I wouldn't have been able to open a newspaper about myself after like 1963 anyway. You know what I mean? Like what benefit could there possibly have been for Bob Dylan to read his reviews during that era? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine he stopped reading things about him pretty early on.
Yeah, that would be suffocating. I won't say I've never been jealous of Bob Dylan's money or his talent, but having to be Bob Dylan would be a drag. Just I can't imagine.
But yeah, further south from Hibbing, to the Twin Cities, to
Chanhassen,
and Paisley Park. We move on to Prince. We are doing a fantasy draft. It's first time since January that we've had a fantasy draft, when we drafted David Bowie. So again, Richard not with us this week, so we're kind of doing a revamped sort of draft because it's just 2 of us doing it. And so we'll go through the rules here. All of the rules apply to the studio albums, so it really revolves around that. You can choose songs that are not on a studio album, but they don't help you with the minimums or maximums that we're going through. And let's see, got to get back to it here. So we're picking 12 songs each. We must have 1 song at least from each decade of Prince's lifetime. So that's the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the aughts, and the teens. And no more than 2 songs from any album, no more than 8 songs from any I think we got to change that to 6 songs for many decades since we're doing 12. We're
Yeah, I'm
originally
fine
going
with
to
that.
do more than that.
Yeah, I'm
And
fine with that.
then we've also added a couple of rules to kind of keep it so where we're going deep into the catalog. We are limiting ourselves to uh, a maximum of two A sides from the 1980s, and also a maximum of two A sides from the 1990s. So, but between the 80s and 90s, only four A sides. So only four single release A sides. But only two from the 80s, only two from the 90s.
And I may have to play some lawyer ball later on that point, but I'm going to try to keep the lawyer ball to a minimum because to go for lawyer ball with Prince implies that there's an absence of choices here. Like to get too technical or fight about any one song to me sort of misses the point, which is there are not a lot of catalogs that go this deep. There's not a lot of catalogs that can support a draft. The fact that you're not like a super fan of Prince, I think you easily could have done 16 if you had to, even in
Oh
a
yeah,
three-way draft.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was the original plan, and that
Yeah.
was with three of us, so that would have been going considerably deeper.
Oh yeah.
But with our rule amendments that we're doing for the 80s and 90s, that will still hopefully make it so we have to go deep.
I think it'll get spicy. I
Yeah.
think it's going to get spicy. I'm ready.
Okay, and I'm just about ready. So we talked about this before. Do I get the first pick?
Yes, youth before beauty. You go first.
Okay, so basically, it is because you are the Uber fan.
Right.
If I may be so bold,
Yeah.
you're
You
the
may.
Uber fan. I'm the fan. And okay, so I have my spreadsheet up. I'm ready to go. And well, let's see here. Maybe I can't use this spreadsheet because I don't have
Are you
Microsoft
using
Office.
purple font color for your
That would
spreadsheet?
be nice. That would be nice. But
It's just a select all function. Go ahead. I'll
all
wait.
right. Okay.
Great.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious what has to be done with this pick,
Uh-huh.
and I am going to go ahead and burn one of my 80s A sides with this. But you got to go Purple Rain because it's Purple Rain, and if you have the opportunity to take Purple Rain, you take Purple Rain.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute there. I've gotten into trouble with you on these before where I got too cute and I didn't grab some big ones early. And I'm going to head it off here and I'm going to grab an 80s single too. There's no reason to go too deep on Purple Rain A side. So I'm going to take Little Red Corvette from 1999, which I do think is like one of the most pure statements of Prince-ness. Like it's a little bit preachy and moralistic, but it's also I don't know, kind of dirty, but not really. You know what I mean? Like it's trapped in the Prince vortex of being both spiritual, sexual, interchangeably. And I don't know. I just think it's one of his all time bangers. And I don't own a Chevy, but when Chevy did that billboard when he passed that just said "Baby, that's much too fast," that's one of the best ads I've ever seen. It just reminded me of how great a song that was on so many levels. So yeah, I'm with you. We got it. I don't hate you on the Purple Rain, but you're forcing my hand here. I got to take Little Red Corvette.
You want to tame that little red love machine.
Well, I'm going to try. I believe he said try. He was about the
Right.
effort. It
Yeah,
was about effort.
he was being modest. He wasn't too full of himself on that.
He under promised and over delivered. I really think that's the
Well,
Prince way.
I mean, we don't know the end of the story, really, do we? We just know the beginning.
I don't know if the Red Love Machine was tamed or not.
Yeah,
That'll be
we don't
one I'll
know.
have to read up.
There was never a sequel, but it does.
He did know it
Little
wouldn't last. I mean,
Little
he knew
Red.
when he parked his car sideways that it wouldn't last. How
That's
could you
right.
possibly? You know what? He foreshadowed the ending. He told the ending is in there, and I didn't realize
I
it till you said it.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that it does also happen to be the first Prince song I ever heard in my life, Little Red
Ooh,
Corvette. So,
nice.
yep. You never forget your first.
No.
All right. So my number two is not an A side, and had first assumed that this was an A side, but doing my research, found out it wasn't, and I was like, I'm going to that makes it so I have to pick the song early, and I'm happy to do it. When You Were Mine was
Yeah,
not an A side, and
it was. You're right. That is a banger as well. That is one of his early greats. I'd say in his phase one highlights. You can't deny that. You can't.
yeah, and so that gives me two songs from the '80s. So I do have two '80s songs, but
All right. Look, there's no vice in that. I am going to. I got Little Red Corvette, so I'm going off. I'm cutting tether here, and we're going into the deep waters. I'm going to grab what I think is the last truly great Prince song from Hit and Run Phase Two. I'm going to take Rock and Roll Love Affair, which again, Prince a little bit of a product of his time. I don't know how many other albums in 2015 had horn sections on them. Like, he is what he is. You either like him or you don't. But boy, I do think I don't know why that wasn't a huge hit for him. I don't even know if it was a single. But Rock and Roll Love Affair from Hit and Run Phase 2 is fantastic. It's as good as anything else in this catalog, in my opinion.
okay, so that you're the first to take one from the teens, and
Oh yeah.
it might be a while before another one is taken from the teens, but you're getting that out of the way early.
Had to.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We're moving at a brisk pace right now, and I'm gonna have to put. So I am going to keep on working on the non A sides here, I think, and I'm gonna take Baby I'm a Star, because I feel like that's one of the best non A sides available. But it does mean that I'm done with the album Purple Rain, and it does give me already three songs from the '80s. So I can only go so much deeper with that whole decade.
Yeah, if I don't pick something from Purple Rain, I'll look like a braying donkey. But I'll get, since you're done with it, I'll do it last. Um, but that is again, there's really only one song I think on Purple Rain that probably is not eligible, and that would be Darling Nikki. You can't possibly draft Darling Nikki. You just can't.
And by the way, so just to refresh you, because it's been a while since we've done a draft. When we do our picks, we should say, what our
Yeah, yeah.
keeping on scoring to.
Yep.
I'm just going to say it to take a little pressure off myself because I'm the bookkeeper here. I'm the official scorer as well as one of the drafters. So.
Yes, I will make it easy on you here. I'm going to jump into the 90s, and I think the 90s, you can't credibly say the 90s are as fertile as the 80s, but if the only Prince anybody knew was the Prince of the 90s, I do still think he would be revered. Maybe not as rich, but revered. I'm going to grab the title track from the album The Truth, which came out, I believe, in 1998, or at least that's what Spotify says. When I got it, it came as a bonus disc if you ordered Crystal Ball. I think you had to buy it directly from him. So Crystal Ball was like this 4 or 5 CD set of like vault material, which Prince nerds were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting on. It's actually not that good, and it breaks my heart to say that. But if you ordered it directly from him, he threw in a bonus album. Like, it wasn't quite like Prince Unplugged, but that's really what it is. It's like it's not just him and an acoustic guitar, but it's like 90% just him and an acoustic guitar, and it is fantastic. I'm a fan, and I'm a bit of a homer for him, so there's a ton of stuff I'm like, I can't believe this wasn't huge. I can't believe that the album The Truth isn't more widely known and more widely loved. Not everything on it is super elite, but the title track it's among his best songs, and I think it's one of the best performances he ever put out. And I'm gonna burn an early pick. It's not even a burn. I'm proud. I wish I could have gone first with it. I want to force the song The Truth down as many throats as possible. So better early. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, it does give you, that is an A side, so that does give you a '90s A side. So,
I'll take it. That's not a waste either.
Okay.
No way. Yeah.
All right. So that means that you have one 80s A side, one 90s A side. I have one 80s A side, no 90s A side yet. And I'm gonna take a 90s A side now because I I might have to give this a little bit more thought, but I think this is probably my favorite 90s A side. At least it is at the moment. That's why I'm picking it so early. And that is Seven
Ooh.
from what the uh, Love Symbol. Is that the
Yeah.
title of the album? And so that gives me my first 90s song, my first 90s A side.
That hurts because that was on my list. One of his late gems, as far as I'm concerned. Again, I like the 2000 stuff, but his true prime is basically the 90s, through the 90s. This one counts for my 70s because I think the way we do the rules is even if you pick some sort of late vault release or whatever, live version or whatever, it goes against the original release. The original acoustic demo for I Feel For You came out like 2 years ago, which is from the original version of I Feel For You was on his debut record in 1979, or the self-titled record in
Yeah,
1979.
it's his second
Second,
album.
yeah, the second one. So I Feel For You, I think, was much more popular under Shaka Khan's version than Prince's. And I like the version on Prince, but the acoustic version is literally, it just sounds like him hitting the record and play button on like a little cheap Radio Shack condensed mic tape recorder, just laying it out and then just hitting stop on the tape. It just sounds like that's all he did. And it's amazing. It's actually, I I guess you can't release a demo in this condition when you're Prince and you need to pull an ace, as he says. But this was an ace, and it was just slept on because it was acoustic, and they wanted Prince to do other stuff. But man, the acoustic demo for "I Feel for You" is top flight. It's fantastic. Again, should have been like all over the radio for months, but I don't know if it even got played once. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, that's one where so I guess two picks in a row where we're kind of vying for the same thing. I was going to do the same thing with probably, not waiting too much longer for that because one, you get to fulfill a decade
Yeah,
obligation, we should say, you mentioned that the demo version that was released much later still counts toward the original album, which was in I think 79. But that also goes for live versions. So if we have any live versions of songs, they're going to count toward the original studio album. Any demo versions or whatever, they're still going to count that way toward the album that they were originally featured on.
all right, what are we up
Okay.
to? You're up on your fifth here?
Yeah, this is my fifth pick. So likely that would have been my fifth pick if you hadn't gone with it. Uh, so have to figure out what we want to do here.
You did get Purple Rain. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, well, that is. I think even with Prince's catalog, the strength of Prince's catalog, if you have Purple Rain, you're kind of set. You can't really go too wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do that yet.
I'm not sad that you seem. Are you on your back heels there, son?
A little
Anything
bit.
else I can do? That's good.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's good.
I am. I'm gonna go to 70s or I'm 70s, 90s, non A sides. I'm gonna go for Billy Jack Bitch from Gold Experience.
Wow, that
of
was
relief
close. That's a sigh of relief because I was
right.
Golden Gold Experience next myself, and I'm taking P Control, which we all
Okay.
know what the P stands for, don't we? We
Parking.
do. Yes, parking control. Although I'm sure Prince could have come up with an R-rated song about a meter maid. You know what? Although again, I have respect for your choice because Gold Experience is not an end-to-end banger. Let's just be honest. It does have Most Beautiful Girl in the World on it, so it has some bangers on it. But I think we were able to get the two big ones.
Yeah. So let's see. I think for my next pick, I'm going to burn. Well, maybe I won't. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm gonna go ahead and burn my other 90s A side. I'm gonna take Cream from Diamonds and Pearls. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm leaving myself a lot of 80s, but I'm getting a little nervous that you're sort of winding down your A sides because you still have an 80s A side you can take, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm done with the 90s A sides. I still have one 80s A side.
I think almost everything on my list is safe at this point, other than my sixth pick from the soundtrack to Under the Cherry Moon, Kiss. Kiss is again, it's a cliche for me to say this over and over again. Not that anybody would know, but I think we could put Kiss on a little record player and send it into space, and it would make the aliens like us. You know what I mean, like they'd never attack us if we just sent them Prince first, or especially Kiss. I think it would just if you don't like Kiss by Prince, there's something wrong with you. I really feel that way. Like, how can you not like that song? It's perfect.
So also featured on the album Parade.
Yeah.
All right, so you're done with 80s B sides now.
Our 80s A sides are done, but I got Kiss and Little Red Corvette. I mean, that's
I
not
said B
cold.
sides.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I mistakenly said B sides. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80s A sides.
All right, I'm done with my 80s A sides, and I'm fine with it.
All right, so we're at the midway point already. Moving right along. All right, so I can just take my other 80s A side whenever I feel like doing it.
That is true.
And I can I have the pick of the litter of quite a large litter. And let's see. So I don't. I'm gonna go ahead and take one that I just think might be vulnerable here, but doesn't really help me with any obligations whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go with Nothing Compares to You before it gets away.
Okay. I might insist you pick a version because there are 3 released versions by Mr. Prince, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think the version I would go for is the live at the Aladdin Las Vegas, or is that right? Do I have the right live album?
It might be, but you're not taking the demo from Originals?
I'm not. That would be the other one, but I kind of I know that there's a live version that I like a little bit more.
Oh, that brings me some pain. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I had that on my. I mean, yeah, that plus Purple Rain. I would just. You might be a little ballad heavy. I'm just saying.
Just because I have 2.
2? Well, you're what? 2 out of 7? What is that?
That's
you're getting to like 1/3 ballads there.
That's 28.6%.
Yeah, you're over 25% ballads. I think your ballad portfolio is a little overrepresented, sir.
We'll just see how this plays out.
Your ballad portfolio might be a little overrepresented.
Look, so if that ends up being the last ballad I pick, that would be 16.7%. So
I don't know. Were Prince albums even 16.7% ballads? Like, are there albums that don't even have one? I don't know. We'll have to go back and look. We'll see. I will run the analysis. I'll have AI do it. I think this is safe. I don't think this was a single, but you caught me on The Truth. I did not realize that the song The Truth had been released as a single. It doesn't really matter because I don't think Key Control was a single. So I'm good on 9. I think I have one 90s single left, and I hate to give it unintentionally, but I'm going to go to the Go.
Let's run the analysis here on that one, just before we push forward on that. All right, so let's check.
All right, my next pick is not a single, so I'm good.
Okay, well, yeah, no, P Control, not a single, so you're good.
Good. I'm going to go to the Emancipation album, which I believe is 96. The singles that he picked from, it's a triple album. Each of the albums it was 3 CDs, and each of the CDs was exactly 60 minutes long. The old line about, when people used to tell Joe Strummer that Sandinista would have been a better double album, he replied, it would have been even better single album. It would have been a great EP. Would have been the best 7-inch single of all time. Like, Emancipation is probably an hour too long. And if he had been, again, we talked about this a little bit. Sorry, we're good on time. I'm gonna empty the spleen here a little bit. Emancipation is really good, and I saw him on that tour, and the tour was really good. But like, when Bob Dylan finally got the freedom to produce his own stuff and didn't really have the record company barking at him all the time, he gave himself a lot more time between album projects. And I would say the quality since Time Out of Mind, and where he's had these long breaks between albums, the Dylan albums they're not all great, but they're all at least good. Prince sort of went the opposite direction. When he got freedom, he basically had no one telling him no. You know what I mean? And at that point in his life, I could understand him not wanting anybody around him telling him no. But he really, like, some of his best work was with the Revolution when they were having like creative tension. It brought out stuff in him that, he just doesn't do on his own. And I think the pressure from the record company too tended to bring out some things good, some things bad, but a lot of them really good. Emancipation. Go ahead.
Well, there are two sides to that argument, because you have to think about what it might have been, because ultimately there always is somebody telling you no. If nobody's buying the records or whatever, that doesn't always necessarily mean no, but that is one form of no. So he is getting feedback in some way, but just not really responding to that feedback. And I think you can look at it like, yeah, he could have done a better job of self-editing, but at the same time, if he all he did was, he wouldn't really be Prince if all he did was worry about what other people think, and he would have been very different all the way around.
I agree with you generally speaking, but he did pick this album to name it Emancipation, right? Like, this is a more pure sort of statement of like, well, this is what I'd do if I could do it the way, now that I'm free to do it. And he overdid it. It's really good. It's I enjoy it. There's a lot on it that's great. Some of it, I feel like the loving touch of an editor who was protective of his feelings, I think could have made Emancipation like world-class stellar. Instead, it's just world-class. So I'm going to take Face Down, which is one of the few songs under 4 minutes long on Emancipation as well. It's unrelated. So, some of the stuff on there that's long is also fantastic, but Face Down is great in its studio performance, and I got to see him do it live, and it's pistol hot. That's all there is to it. It's fantastic. I don't know if you're a big Emancipation fan, but wouldn't hurt you to start with Face Down.
Okay. Well, yeah, I like that album, and you're not wrong that it could have used some editing, but I don't know. I mean, it's a weird thing to worry about, especially now, I think, because we're always editing, we're always making playlists, and sometimes, like, I'll make a playlist where I'm reworking the running order just because I think there's a better running order for an album.
Yeah.
So at this point, we all have that ability to edit whatever we want. So what do so you might as well just have all of the stuff to work with, all of the material.
What do you think of his cover of Joan Osborne's "One of Us"? I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, I mean, I hesitate to talk too much about it until the draft
I
is over.
see. I see. You're right. That was innocent, by the way. That's not. That isn't any shenanigans or strategery. I'm genuinely interested. I'll get it out of you. Your turn.
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to that. We'll come back. Yeah, so let's see. I have 3 songs from the 90s, 3 from the 80s. I have 2 90s A-sides, 1 80s A-side. Uh, I hesitate to worry about the other obligations just yet. Like, I don't feel like I have to. So let's see. I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, again, you got a free fire zone on the singles.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. It's like I don't really feel like there's anything that has to be done right now. So I have a lot of freedom. But at the same time, at this point, I have 5 more picks too, so I might as well just go ahead. I'm gonna do the 70s obligation, and I'm gonna take I Want to Be Your Lover, just in case you get the urge to pick a 70s song that you aren't obligated to pick.
You're not wrong. That is a fantastic elective. I think
Well, it's not an elective; it's a requirement.
It is for you, right? It would be an
Yeah.
elective for me. It would not be a waste of an elective, is what I meant, or what I should have said.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that means we're up to number 8. I'm going to take my ballad. I don't think I'm going deeper than one ballad, and boy, I ended up really 90s heavy. And look, I'm not representing that I am a obsessive fan. Like, I am a fan beyond the realm of the average fan, right? Like, Prince has a lot of fans, but I would describe myself as above the average fan, but I'm not a complete nut. And there are some just incredibly complete nuts for Prince. So I'm not trying to represent I have their level of cred, but I am going to say if you don't like I Love You, but I Don't Trust You Anymore from Raven to the Joy Fantastic, I just don't think you like Prince. And it's featuring Ani DeFranco. It's not it's Prince. Like, yes, she's on it, but it's a Prince record. That is one of his best ballads of all time. Should have been gigantic.
You're not worried about being ballad heavy?
I'm not. Again, I feel like one is enough. One is enough. That's generally his approach on the records. It's not that there were albums. A couple of them have like more than one slow song aside, but I generally only went for one weeper per album. Are you a fan of Raven to the Joy Fantastic at all? I think it's a B plus. I'll put it that way, and certainly better than most things he put out within the 10 years after it.
I really haven't gone back to that one in quite a while. I didn't even really revisit that one to see if there's something that I wanted for this, because I felt I had plenty of stuff to work with for the 90s. But with your urging, maybe that's one I'll have to go back to.
It's got some great guest spots. I mean, they're not all bangers. He does do a cover of Sheryl Crow's "Every Day Is a Winding Road" that I'm a fan of. It's not a universal hit. He does change the lyrics, and they become. It does kind of go into the weird Prince vortex, but I'll be honest with you at this point, I enjoy going into the weird Prince vortex. So instead of coffee and nicotine, it's compliments and herbal tea. Like, okay, fine. I'll go into that world with Prince for a while. Good album. Give Raven to the Joy Fantastic a real try. Hot With You with Eve is great. Greatest Romance Ever Sold is great. The title track's great. It's pretty good.
All right, so you actually have 4 songs from the 90s now, but only 1 A-side. So that's an interesting configuration.
Yeah, well, you took Diamonds or you took Cream, right? You took Cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of dampened my enthusiasm for the 90s A-sides. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, you still have one available to you, but only 2 more possible songs from that decade.
I see.
All right. I am I wasn't really sure which song to go with from the aughts, but I definitely know which album I wanted to go with. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do my song from the aughts. And I'm gonna go the title track from Musicology. I had a few songs from that album that I was willing to go with from the aughts, but I'm just gonna go with that one.
Yeah, the aughts are a tough one. Musicology, again, for all the records that came out in the aughts, it's actually, I think, on the better end of his stuff.
Yeah, I
But
think it's a good album. It's not a great album, but a good album.
yeah, I'd say if Prince was ever sort of out of ideas, it was in the aughts. Everything production wise sort of sounded the same. It all sounded like exactly what it was. Him waking up when he felt like it, going down to his studio and playing until he didn't feel like it. It's
Yeah,
not always the best recipe.
yeah, but it's if you look at who had their own studios, and I guess we'll never really know the end of the story with Jimi Hendrix, what that would have been like. But with Prince, we do we can kind of see how that plays out.
Well, you know what? I don't. It's not on Spotify, and I don't know if it counts. But the best thing I got to check this out. I don't want to. I don't want to pause the action. I don't. But it's my turn, correct?
Yeah, you're at number 9 right now.
I don't know if this counts or not, but it should. When did Prince join the George Harrison tribute concert?
Oh, well, that's not going to count. You can pick something from that, but it's not going to help your obligations at all.
But my obligations, I've got my 70s, I've got 90s, I've got the teens. I only need one more from the aughts.
But that won't count. That would be like me picking Nothing Compares to You. It doesn't count toward anything. So you can pick it, but it's just filling up a spot. It's not going to help your obligations.
I think it was 2012 though that he did "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." Because if it was in the aughts, I'd take it in a second and I'd win.
No, it would be irrelevant because it's not one of his studio albums. Only something from one of his studio albums is
Oh
going to.
yeah. I still think I'd win, but all right. Then I'm gonna have to take. You know what? I'm just gonna get the aughts over with. It's really between Dreamer and guitar for the same reason. I think Prince as a guitarist is way, 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 way underrated. He's not.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think maybe the average person doesn't realize how great of a guitarist he was, but I think most people that are musically inclined know that he was a killer guitarist and musician all the way around.
Yeah, he's elite. He's elite on more than one instrument. And he has the Stevie Wonder thing too of being just an absolute like tinkerer, just an
Hmm.
incredible like mechanical, electrical, you know what I mean? Like they he was fascinated by the equipment itself. Like there are those musicians. Pete Townsend was one, obviously. Stevie Wonder is like the archetype. So was James Brown though. James Brown played mean keyboards and loved the tech as it evolved. All right, I'm gonna pick guitar from Planet Earth. I can't pick anything from Lotus Flower. I'm so that package of stuff that came out, I think you could only buy it at Target. It was like Minneapolis Sound, Lotus Flower, and another record all bundled together for like $12. So it's like 3 albums for $12. It was still a ripoff. So I'm you know what? I'm wearing a black armband about that. I'm picking Planet Earth guitar instead, which is not as great a guitar performance, but it's a better song from Planet Earth. That's an A-side too, I think. It knocks off my aughts, and I would just prefer to let it go.
All right, I'm at number 10 now. I have 3 more picks. Um, I think like I'm not really worried that you're going to pick another song from the teens, but I can go ahead and pick a song from the teens, and then I don't have any decades to worry about. I've filled them all. But I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I have to say, wasn't really something that I was even really was ever really on my radar until I had to go back and review some albums as homework for this. But Plectrum Electrum is a damn interesting album and quite enjoyable. I I wish I would have known it really at the time. I
Yeah.
enjoy it quite a bit. It's interesting that at that point in his career that he was just basically doing like a straight ahead rock album, and very excellently so. And the album or the song that I'm going to go with from it is I can't. Let's see here. I'm not even seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, Fix Your Life Up. The all of the song titles are smushed together
Yes,
into
they
one
are.
word. So it's kind of hard to even spot it. But Fix Your Life Up, all one word, from that album it's a really good album. Really, I was I'm it's one of the great things about doing this sort of stuff is that sometimes you have to go back and listen to something that you might not have gotten around to, and
Yeah.
I think I might not have gotten around to Plectrum Electrum, and it's really good.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I thought the Hit and Run Phase 2, 1, and Plectrum Electrum were all definitely Artificial Age 2. That little stretch there of 2014, 2015, he had a little bit of something going there, and then he didn't.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. From 2014, by the way.
yeah, that's a good one. All right, I think I'm done with my obligations. I'm just going to go straight up 80s electives. I've got every decade
Well,
here.
yeah, let's
I
see
got
if that's correct. That is correct.
Prince from '79. So I've got all electives, and I'm not. I think I've made my case that I have some '90s depth. I didn't go for the easy A sides there. The '90s really are the era that reward. I
You
think.
do have an A side available from the 90s if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 380. So I waited to the end. My number 10 is gonna be the song Paisley Park from Around the World in a Day. Um,
I think that was an A side.
Well, no, that we discussed the rules here. It was an A side in the UK only.
Was
It
it?
was not released as a single in the US, although they were going to. There was promos made and sent to some radio stations, but they were withdrawn.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was UK only.
Yeah, it was withdrawn. And I actually think, I don't know if I would say it's the best song on Around the World in a Day, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, Raspberry Beret is on there. Pop
Yeah,
Life. I, Pop Life is also great.
yeah,
Um,
America is. I couldn't pick America because the box set hasn't come out yet, but the original 12-inch single of America, the version on there, is 22 minutes long. Prince plays a solo on every instrument in the studio during the course of the 22 minutes, and it's fantastic. It's in my top 10 Prince artifact, like records, whatever you have you. The original 12-inch single of America, but it's not on Spotify, so I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to pick Paisley Park instead. Paisley Park should have been a single. It's a banger. It's just
well,
slow.
it was in the UK.
You know what it is though? It's Purple Rain was over, and everybody's like, "What do you do to top Purple Rain?" And the only respectable answer there really was Raspberry Beret. Like, you just don't come out right after Purple Rain with Paisley Park. It's too bit of a slow burn. It can't have been the first single. But I think they got a little burned by it and never brought it back as a real single in the US, and they should have. Pop Life is great, but it's not that great.
I like Pop Life quite a bit, actually. Yeah, Raspberry or Paisley Park was released like 9 days after Raspberry Beret. So I wonder if Raspberry Beret was released in the UK as a single.
Yeah, there was something goofy around there. And one of my friends who's like a real Prince nerd, I can't remember if he was like in a big city, because I mean I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa when this came out. Like we weren't getting a lot of first release stuff, but he was either in Minneapolis or Chicago, and he heard it. He's like, "Oh my God, I heard the new Prince song. It's called Paisley Park. It's great." I'm like, "Oh wow, I can't wait to hear it." And then it was Raspberry Beret, which is also great, but I do think Paisley Park people sleep on that one.
Yeah, yeah, Sleep On is agreeable, but still, I would say the third best song on the album, maybe.
Banger.
Okay, so 11. Yeah, I don't have requirements really at this point. I can kind of go rogue, and still have an 80s A side to work with here.
Don't spend it all at once, kid.
I cannot go to the Purple Rain album because I've maxed that out.
Really, nothing from Dirty Mind? Nothing, really? That's unthinkable to me. You're not going to pick Bat Dance? Come on.
I do have something from Dirty Mind. It's When You Were Mine.
Oh, that's right. I mean, Controversy. Then you're going to take the title track from Controversy and make everybody happy, right? Really? That's bold.
Because it was an A side. Yeah, this is a tough one because
it's dawning on you that I snagged Kiss right, just skimming the cream right out of there.
Well, no, I mean there's actually too much to go around. It just I don't know which way to go because there's too much to go around. I'm just gonna save that for one more round because the whole time I've been trying to think, what is the most important song from that whole bunch to me, and it's tough. It's really tough. So I'm going to go back to the 90s. And let's see, I have my A sides fulfilled. I'm gonna go to Emancipation as well, and I'm gonna take Jam of the Year.
Can't fault you on that. Pull out, give Emancipation a try. Actually, you know what? Try to make a playlist out of Emancipation and Raven to the Joy Fantastic. Like, limit yourself to like an hour total, and you'll be like, wow, this is the best album Prince never made. There's enough material there. All right, I can't take another 80s A side, and I would do it just to poke you, because I'm worried what you're going to do with your A side. You could do something extremely.
Well, but if you could do that, I would have already picked an A side. The only reason I haven't picked another A side is because I know I don't have it.
I know, but this is going somewhere. There's a specific A side that I'm very worried you're going to desecrate by picking. And I'm going to be angry about it. You're going to hear from me if you do it. I'm going to go to that same album, though, and I'm going to grab Ballad of Dorothy Parker from Sign of the Times. For us, I mean, we could do a Sign of the Times draft, frankly, if you include all the session material behind it.
I mean, as always, I do have a bonus round idea in mind.
Okay, yeah, but I'm not... I'm going to agree to you to do it in advance, but I will not allow edited versions in the bonus round.
I think those are always on the table.
I knew this was going there. I knew this.
Well,
you can't do that. You can't. That's a desecration of a perfectly good song. I know what you're gonna do. All right, I've gotten Sign of the Times on the board.
You're the one that wants Emancipation edited down to fewer songs. So I think I can go with like the single edit of a song and not feel like I'm doing some kind of injustice.
I don't. Yeah. You know what? History determines that, not you and I.
Right, well,
anyway, I got Sign of the Times on the board. That is a matter of pride and honor, and I did it.
All right, I guess to kind of stick the dagger.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do this. This is a crime.
All right, I'm going to take the single edit of I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man.
That is self-hatred. Where is your dignity?
I don't know. I just I feel like I honestly like both versions of it. I'm not saying that I have a problem with the longer album version of it. I don't. I just prefer the shortened one a bit. It's not a real strong preference, but it is a preference.
All right. You know what? To each their own. I'm just glad you like a Prince song, but I mean, Sign of the Times. I know that like his commercial peak is 1999 and Purple Rain. And I understand why people just reflexively say that is also his artistic peak. It's hard to argue that it isn't, but don't like. There's a national park just to the east of Yellowstone called, I think it's Shoshone, and like if Yellowstone wasn't there, everybody would be talking about how wonderful Shoshone is. Same with like Kings Canyon in California. It happens to be next door to Yosemite, so like. People talk about Yosemite. They never talk about Kings Canyon. Sign of the Times has to compete with like some of the greatest music ever made, and it just doesn't get the respect it deserves. And because it's long and because it's Prince, like it has a few oddball moments on it, but the long version of I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man is him just like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Like, it's just, that's him at peak power, in my opinion. It's such a weird way to construct a song. It's such a strange, it's not even like a guitar solo. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like a 3-minute guitar break. It's very strangely constructed, but it's fantastic. I can't blame you, I guess, because the short version, I get, does sound good on the radio, but that long break is so Prince. Sorry, I had to get on the soapbox.
Well, yeah. Again, I have to stress that I don't dislike the longer version of it. I like. I feel like the single edit gets it a little more right.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I was judgmental about it. I'm glad the song made it on here, but I don't know. I feel like you could have picked the long version, and there would have been some style points. That's all.
I wouldn't, if I was forced to, I'd be okay with it.
So was that your 12th pick?
That was my 12th pick, last official pick.
All right.
Again, I have bonus round ideas.
All right, I can do a bonus round, but I'm going to take again. This is my version of blackpilling. I'm going to take from the Originals compilation, which is only 2 years old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's only 2 years old. There's a lot on here, in my opinion. I'm going to take The Glamorous Life, and I don't know. It is written for again. He sings a lot of these demos the way he expected the artist to sing them, and it's a little strange sometimes. Like there's some stuff he writes for women. It's a little, it's interesting, right? But you have to understand, like young people who they know a couple Prince songs, and if you're in like a casino, you'll overhear them every once in a while, I guess. But like people don't realize he had so many songs sitting around. He was putting out like epic albums every year for like 6-7 years in a row, and he had so many songs left over that he had the Glamorous Life to give away. Like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, or Manic Monday, yeah, not sure what I'm gonna do with that. Nothing Compares to You, yeah, not sure. Like he had unbelievable amount of bangers that I don't know. Nobody is that productive. Nobody. Not even the Beatles were that productive. The Smiths put out unbelievable music in like 5 years, and I don't even think they had a 5-year span. Nobody did. That's my humble estimation.
It also helped, like at that time, saying that this song performed by Sheila E. was written by Prince was also going to help it sell a ton. But yeah, I had his version of The Glamorous Life on my list as well, but didn't get to it because I got the other ones I wanted more first. Okay, so bonus round idea.
Yeah, what do you got?
So I say we do 2, maybe 3 extra picks where it just chaos rules. It's the Wild West. So so we can just take the rules out and then just pick whatever songs are still left.
All right. Go ahead. I have some contingency plans here, but there's no rules here, right? This is
no rules.
Any three, huh?
Yeah. So then it's decided that 3 is the number.
It's the magic number.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
That's true.
3. It's the magic number.
Schoolhouse Rock is always correct.
That's true.
All right. So yeah, 3 songs, whatever you want to do at this point. All right. So I would say since I can now take another song off of Purple Rain, that is what I will do. But it's still tough to decide. I think I gotta go. Well, either way, I'm going to go variation here, no matter which way I go, because I think there's. Okay, so one gives me a little bit more variation than the other in my list, and I'm going to go with Take Me With You.
All right. Yeah, I realized I didn't grab a Purple Rain. Not cool. So I'm going to grab When Doves Cry. Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
You didn't grab a 1999.
That's because I only had two songs that.
Really?
Yeah, we'll see what happens now that I can. Okay, When Doves Cry.
No bass guitar. No record. That's When Doves Cry has to be the weirdest top 40 record of all time. Just go listen to it. Like you and I both have listened to some fairly extreme music in our lives. People just are sleeping on how from outer space When Doves Cry really is. It's
Well,
just
it's probably a discussion for another time, but I've been thinking about that recently about how um, there used to be songs like that made it on the top 40 that would make no sense in later years, like songs that were big hits that were way too sophisticated to be, like
yeah.
big hits in any other time period because it all became so homogenized over time. Um, yeah, there are some really out there examples of that.
He's among the more prolific producers of WTF. Just like the Beastie Boys lyric, you're staring at the radio, staying up all night. It's because of records like When Doves Cry. I stared at the radio when that came out.
Yeah. Okay. So not because not because you mentioned I didn't have a song from
Of
1999,
course not.
but I'm going to go ahead and pick one and pick Delirious from 1999 as my number 14.
Are you?
Single version.
Oh, what a sicko. First of all, if you like Prince, there's I would never steer you towards gray market Prince material, but the album version of Delirious is like 5 minutes long. There's a longer version in which he does say, "Do you want to dance?" which is one of my favorite Prince moments of all time. And unfortunately, you have to go into the deep end of the internet to find it. I hope it comes out. It didn't. It didn't come out on the 1999 box set. I don't think. Maybe it did. Anyway, you got to find the original full-length recording. And are you prepared to admit yet that Delirious is his take on country western?
Oh yeah,
And
forgot
so is
about that.
Horny Toad. The B-side, Horny Toad, is also country music. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really hear that, but all right.
I'm crestfallen. All right, I'm gonna grab an '80s A side then, since it's a free fire zone.
Okay.
I gotta grab. I'd be honest here. Like the first, I was all in for Prince. Like I sight unseen, I'm buying every album the day it comes out, paying full price, don't care. The first time I ever stared at the record and was like, "WTF, Prince," is "Love Sexy." "Love Sexy" is not great. "Love Sexy" has a few great moments on it, and I'm going to pick Alphabet Street. I'm going to call Alphabet Street the last of the golden era Prince Warner Brothers in the '80s. It's the bookend to Little Red Corvette. I think Little Red Corvette really kicks off like Prince can do no wrong pop star, and I think Alphabet Street is the end of that, and then he goes into a different sort of direction with his stuff. But Alphabet Street is the last honest banger, and I can't say that Love Sexy is a banger of an album. Glam Slam's all right. There's some stuff on it that's okay. Black Album would have been better.
All right. Well, all right. Yeah. I mean, no surprise that this was all going to be 80s A sides. Really. I mean, there's still other great stuff, but you know, um, I'm gonna go to Around the World, and I would pick Pop Life if that were the best one available at this point. I'd be happy to pick it, but I'm gonna go with Raspberry Beret because that is also still available.
Yeah, you can't front on that. And the long version, the collection Ultimate by Prince has, if you buy the 3-disc version, there's the extended versions of a lot of stuff. I think the extended versions are just what he recorded, and then they work down like a shorter version for the album, maybe a shorter version for the single, and then they would usually let like the unedited or pretty largely unedited versions be the 12 inches. For all of these, you should seek out the long versions if you can. The long version of Raspberry Beret is great. The only real dud 12-inch I can remember from that era is Kiss. If the long version is unimpressive in every way. All right, I'm going to bring it out with '80s, but I'm going to go straight B-side because if you're if you're going to have a discussion of what are the greatest B-sides of all time, I would not say this is the greatest B-side of all time. It's Prince's greatest B-side. I don't think that's controversial. There's some stuff in there that's great, but nothing's as good as Erotic City. Nothing is. And I like all the B-sides. I like even the weird B-sides. I love How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, which is definitely not commercial, and Erotic City, because of its lyrical content, I don't think can be called commercial either. But Erotic City was, I mean, there are bands who never had a career that good, and he just had it as an extra. Like it's so good. And it's just I can't imagine it took much longer for him to write than to record. I could be wrong. It could have been a epic writing session. It just doesn't feel like it. It's just him catching lightning in a bottle. He can do no wrong. He's just got this in. He's just like this riff monster. He just is this in groove, and it's this to have that. It's Let's Go Crazy on the A side and Erotic City on the B side. That's also I'm gonna have to put that up there for one of the best 12-inch singles ever released. Either you just can't front on it. And now the Purple Rain Deluxe Edition has it on CD, so you don't have to track down that horrible German 12-inch single or EP, the CD EP, which is always too expensive. So it's out there. Everybody can have it. It's a perfect way to end with Erotic City. You're a fan of Erotic City, aren't you, Flick? Come on.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
But,
I'll work on you.
You know what? Interesting thing about the Purple Rain B-sides. One, I was about to say Beautiful Ones was also a B-side in the Purple Rain era, right? And that was
but it was an album track too. And the US singles.
Yeah.
17 Days was a really good B-side, and the Piano and a Microphone album, where it was just him sitting at a piano with a microphone in 1983. He does an early piano take of 17 Days. I think if he'd spent more time on that, that would have been worthy of an album or an A-side at some point. Erotic City, I think, could have been made an A-side.
But Take Me With You was also a B-side to Let's Go Crazy, and then ended up being an A-side later on. So,
yeah, if you can find it. I know you're a Quasi fan. There's Quasi does a good cover of Take Me With You. It was on a CD that you could buy at their shows, but I think it ended up being released. Their version is good, but then Janet Weiss can do no wrong.
Yeah, I think I do have that. Okay, so just a quick recap. Do you have your list?
Yes.
To recap yours? Okay, yes. I will go through mine first. Keep in mind that we had rules in place until the last 3 picks, so that's why it skews a certain way. Okay, so my first pick was Purple Rain. 2, When You're Mine. Baby I'm a Star. 3, 7, 4, which is confusing. Billy Jack Bitch. 5th. Cream. 6, Nothing Compares to You. 7th, I Want to Be Your Lover. 8th, Musicology. 9, Fix Your Life Up. 10, Jam of the Year. 11, I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. 12, No Rules. 13 through 14. 13 was Take Me With You. 14, Delirious, and Raspberry Beret. 15.
Yeah, if somebody was dropped off from another planet and that was the only Prince they ever heard, I think you would have served them properly.
I believe so.
I don't think there's any complaint.
Especially because I have Purple Rain.
You know what? I debated whether to say this. I'm not the biggest Purple Rain fan. I gotta be honest.
Well, I kind of thought that was the case, but I wasn't going to not pick it number 1. Even though
that's why I didn't mind letting it go first.
Yeah,
it no problem letting it go first. I was never gonna pick it. It's great. It's fantastic. I teared up a little bit when I saw him and he played it.
Oh yeah.
It gives you all the feels, but I'll be honest, the number of times I go out of my way to listen to it where I'm not just being sad and soppy about Prince, I don't really go out of my way for it. Maybe it's just because I'm sad about him dying.
Yeah,
and I don't go for it.
And it should be said, because I have not said this as of yet, we both have had the pleasure of seeing Prince live. So that's one thing that I think we're both very fortunate to be able to say.
Yeah, and I live in the Quad Cities, which is, for people who don't know, it's 2 towns on the Iowa side, 2 towns on the Illinois side, right about where Interstate 80 crosses the Mississippi River. And this is where I saw him. So I go by I think it's called the Tax Slayer Center now. I think it was called the Mark of the Quad Cities. I see it all the time, and I have to think about Prince all the time. It makes me very sad. All right, And he almost died here. Flying back to Minneapolis before he died, he had an emergency stop here in the Quad Cities, and they wanted to admit him to the hotel or hospital, but they wouldn't let him, or he would not allow them to draw blood. And he got on his plane and went home. And I think he died after that. 1999, I went for my first pick. I picked Little Red Corvette because it's the most complete thing he did, in my opinion. Rock and Roll Love Affair from Hit and Run Phase 2 is my second song. Don't sleep on that one. Please give that a try. I think people will really love that song. And there's a live version of him with his band playing it on YouTube. You should really look up. He was really good at the end there. He was really having a run. Number 3 for me, title track To the Truth. Fantastic blues acoustic from him. I also went acoustic number 4 for the original demo of I Feel For You. P Control, Naughty Boy. Maybe he wasn't harmless. He did some naughty stuff, but he was a good man deep down there, and I think he regretted being such a foul-mouthed young man. He did regret it.
Thank you, library lady.
No, he was a bit of a library lady at the end of his career. He didn't swear. He changed the lyrics and stuff like that. I think he repented.
I was calling you the library lady.
I am but he was a library lady too, and that's one of the reasons why I can get over some of the naughtier stuff he did. Number 6 is Kiss. I mean, if we did a draft and Kiss wasn't picked within the first half, then that's karmically ugly. Picked Face Down from Emancipation 7, Love You Don't But I Don't Trust You Anymore from Raven to the Joy Fantastic number 8, Guitar from Planet Earth number 9. Had to pick something from the aughts. Paisley Park from Around the World in a Day, Ballad of Dorothy Parker, Glamorous Life from the originals, When Doves Cry, Alphabet Street, and then the full 7.5-minute, too bad, no edit, Erotic City from the expanded Purple Rain, the original Let's Go Crazy single. Boy, that's tight. I also had, that's tight. There's not a lot missing here. What did we miss? You got 7. That's good. The cover of A Case of You on the Joni Mitchell tribute album, might be able to make a case for that. That was 2007. I almost went there, but it wouldn't have satisfied my album thing, and I would have had to pick again. What else?
Pop Life, but we've already talked about it.
Lay Down from 2010 was on my list. Soft and Wet was on my list.
If I were going to go deep, I had a couple of deep picks from the 80s just because I wanted to make sure I had some good non-A-side material.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like Trust from the Batman soundtrack. And I knew that would be safe if I needed to go to it. And It from Sign of the Times. A lot of stuff from Sign of the Times really could have made it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the title track didn't age all that well. I'll be honest with you. Not a super huge fan of. I liked the single Sign of the Times a little more at the time than I do now. I think
I told the story once before, but in case you don't want to go back into the archives to find the story, but I remember the line about doing horse. When I was a kid, I had no idea what the hell that was referring to.
I don't know. Look, I have had enough experience with drugs to I have no interest in glamorizing them. However, implying that somebody smokes reefer for the very first time in December or something, or January, he tries reefer, and then he's a heroin addict in June. I mean, look, this is not commonly talked about, and we should probably just wrap it up before going here, but Prince was a Republican. Prince was a Republican. And people have to keep that in mind. James Brown was too. Kanye is. It exists.
I don't think if you're going to bring Kanye into the discussion, I think that kind of blows the whole thing, because I don't know that Kanye is a real political animal, but as the past few years shows, I don't know.
Well, he definitely stuck his neck out for Donald Trump and tried to run for president. But Prince wasn't that bad. Prince just donated money.
Yeah. Did he have any idea what he was even?
Well, doing? I mean, I won't speculate on that. You mentioned the Batman soundtrack. People think of the Batman soundtrack as being a dud. The Future's good. Electric Chair's good. Scandalous is. There's a 20-minute version on the CD single, which is inappropriate for children. And then Bat Dance. That's good. That's half good.
Lady.
Yeah, I am a bit of a library lady. But again, Prince was too. Prince was a door-to-door church witnessing in Minneapolis. There's plenty of people who are like, yeah, I was a knock at my door. It was Prince, trying to give me the Watchtower.
Yeah,
He's a bit of a church lady.
So in the 90s we did mention it. I agree with you on his version of One of Us, and I don't really like the original that much, but I do like the Prince version of One of Us, and thought about that. Thieves in the Temple, I think, is a good song.
Yeah, it's got its moments.
Other things on my list for the aughts, I talked about Musicology. I like that album, a bit. And Call My Name also, I think, is a good track off of that. Cinnamon Girl, not a Neil Young cover, but a good song. I always think that that's a bad move to have a title that is in common with a very famous, other song.
Yeah.
When it's not a cover. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is a good song in its own right. And then in the 10s, like I said, I really like Plectrum Electrum a lot, and had Another Love and Funk and Roll off of that one. Quite a few good tracks off that. I recommend that album, I have to say.
Dinner with Dolores, Chaos Disorders, a little bit of some clunky lyric that makes it, I think, less than palatable, but Chaos and Disorder is not a great album, but Dinner with Dolores has its Prince quality, I'll put it that way. And I want to throw in just a couple more from Emancipation. Sleep Around is great. I think Style's good, New World's good, Holy River's good. There's quite a bit. Slave's good. Quite a bit on Emancipation holds up to repeated high-frequency listening.
Well, excellent. So glad you could be here for this because long time coming. I know we've talked about Prince episode for as long as we've been doing this, so glad we got to do it.
Yeah, I'm just get sappy over Prince. I do it all the time. I'll do any Prince show anytime. Richard had a good idea about going album by album. If that ever comes to pass, look me up.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of albums to try and squeeze into one show. We'll have to kick around other Prince ideas because there's plenty to talk about for sure.
Yeah, I'd say maybe do album by album through the aughts, and if you can make an hour of listenable podcast out of that, that would be great skill. That would be deft touch. If that could be done, deft touch for sure.
Well, I'm gonna put that one on you a bit because you're more the Prince guy.
I don't know if anybody would listen even if you perfected it. There's just the aughts have such a bad rep for him, and can't say he doesn't deserve a little of it. All right, Mr. Flick, appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll be back next week. Not sure what we're doing yet, but we'll see you in a week.